Hi, welcome to another episode of Spiritcraft, the podcast to nurture your soul and unleash the magic within. Today we have part 2 of the topic about spiritual practices and grounding techniques. Part 1 was last week. We explored the basics of spiritual protection. So if you need to catch up, just go ahead and listen to that episode. Today we're taking things a step further. We'll be discussing some techniques that you can use to protect your energy and stay grounded in any situation. From practical rituals to daily habits, these tools will help you build a strong spiritual shield. So whenever you're at home, at work, or on the go, you'll be equipped to handle whatever comes your way. I am Marta, your host. Let's dive in. So if you remember last week, we were talking that while these signs on their own, there might not be anything to question or anything to be worried about. It's more about when they are out of the blue, when they are pervasive, when things pile up on each other and they just seem as if they have no rational explanation. And of course, those signs that are similar to symptoms that we might have from medical conditions. So once we have ruled out an actual medical condition. So remember, it's not because one day we have bad luck, but it is a weird amount of bad luck or one thing on top of each other. Just to recap very briefly, we talked about feeling drained or exhausted after interacting with others, and this was in very particular situations, so just maybe one person while you feel okay with everyone else. Having that heightened sensitivity to others' emotions, you suddenly start getting these weird emotions out of nowhere. Having unexplained anxiety or fear that again comes out of nowhere, or recurring negative thoughts or self-doubt, which again has no link to known depression or any other mental health conditions. If we have physical symptoms without a medical explanation, when we feel off or out of balance, or if we have an unusual amount of bad luck or conflict, when everything seems to be going the wrong way. One of the things that I mentioned last week very briefly was about discernment, which is a word that I struggle pronouncing, but it is a word that we all should know and we all should work with. And basically what this means is we need to be a bit critical of every situation. As a spiritual worker and a witch and a Reiki practitioner and all of these, I could just say that any kind of situation has a magical cause. And to an extent, if you believe in the magic of the universe, then yes, you could say that. But what I'm trying to say is that not everything that happens to you will be because of a magical cause or because of some spiritual situation. We live in a physical world and things happen, and whether you believe that things happen for a reason or you believe in coincidences, that's out of the question here. We're not talking about that. But discernment is knowing when something is a physical condition, when something is attacking your spiritual energy field or shield, and being able to make that distinction and being able to think critically about what's led you to that situation. I did say I was going to give you some ways to protect yourself from all of these situations, and this is it. Let's talk about some of the most common ways to practice spiritual protection. Now, one of the easiest ways to protect your energetic field is by using crystals. When using crystals, it's important to cleanse and charge them, or some people call it program them. Cleansing a crystal can be as simple as visualizing a cleansing light that surrounds the crystal, or even passing it through the smoke of certain herbal bundles. You can also use crystals like selenite to cleanse other crystals, or you can place it in a bowl of selenite or in a bowl of salt. When getting a new crystal, please do your research, because some crystals should never be cleansed in water, some can be toxic to handle, some can crack very easily with heat, so always be safe. Make sure that you do your research. When cleansing crystals of whatever energy they might have collected before they got to us, and whatever they might have picked up while we have them in storage, what we're actually doing is refreshing their energy. We are trying to get them into a point where we can infuse them with our intentions or program them, charge them, as I was saying earlier. Now, we don't cleanse them of their inherent qualities. What we cleanse them is of any energies that they might have picked up along the way. After cleansing them, that's when we program them with the task that we need them to do. And in this case, it would be protecting our energy. Pretty much all black crystals are grounding and protecting. So said that, here are some of my favorite crystals for grounding and protection. Hands down, my favorite stone to work with is black obsidian. Technically, it's volcanic glass and it absorbs negative energy. It can be a great ally against psychic attacks. I have a great anecdote with obsidian. I was going through airport security at Gatwick and the guy stopped me because there was something kind of like round and a weird shape and size showing up in the scanner. And I started thinking, what's going on? What do I have in my bag? I had about 7 crystals in my bag and it was only obsidian that looked strange. And it was very funny when the guy was rummaging through my bag and then suddenly he was like, and he picked this pebble, let's say, up and he was like, what is this? Very confused. And you should have seen my face because I was relieved. And I said, oh, that's just obsidian. It's just a crystal. And he even showed me the scanned image and it looked pretty cool because it looked entirely different from any other object in that scan. Hematite is another protective stone and it also helps with grounding, as I'm saying, all of these kind of darker black crystals. Hematite has many qualities, but I've mainly used it when dealing with negative people or situations. I used to wear hematite in my sports bra when I worked at the gym because there was a lot of people being very nasty sometimes and it was a very noisy environment and it made me feel very unsettled and flighty. So I used it for grounding myself. Another stone is black tourmaline. I've mainly used it when hedge riding and astral traveling. Black tourmaline is grounding and protective and it helps eliminate negative energy. As you can imagine, there are many more. Also, very important, remember that the rocks and pebbles in your garden or those that you find in certain places can be very powerful stones for grounding and protection, especially when they are local to you and the land where you live. Another great way to protect yourself spiritually is by practicing salt rituals. Salt is a very protective and cleansing tool, and you can use it in many ways. I mentioned earlier salt bowls, so you can obviously place some crystals in salt bowls. Placing also salt bowls in the corners of your home are going to absorb negative energies and neutralize them. You've seen that in many series and movies. You can create salt circles, so you will sprinkle a circle of salt all around your home or your sacred space, and that can create a protective barrier. Now, bear in mind that salt is not good for the earth in the sense of it will change the qualities of that ground and then things will not grow there. So it might destroy plants and crops and things like that. So I would personally not use salt circles outside. But I know that some people use just a sprinkle of it or whatever, so do what you think is best. And then you can also use salt baths. For example, taking a bath with sea salt can help cleanse your aura and protect against negative energies. I use Epsom salt quite a lot, which technically is not salt. It's a different type of crystal, it seems. But it helps me because I use it normally with different aromas and mix with essential oils and things like that. And it still has grounding and protective energies from the earth anyway. We've mentioned smoke cleansing in the past. And of course, you can do this by burning protective herbs like rosemary, lavender, or even cedar for smoke cleansing. And these can remove negative energies and protect your environment. You can also use incense, obviously, and burning some protective incense like frankincense or sandalwood. It can help purify the air and create a protective atmosphere. Something that I don't use as much is protective symbols and talismans, but they are very efficient ways of protecting your spiritual energy shield. You can wear pentacles, for example, or other protective symbols, or display them on your altar or things like that. You probably have seen the Hamsa hand or the evil eye symbol. All of this can offer protection. You can have things like talismans and amulets, which can be different things like a locket with protective herbs or a piece of jewelry. All of these can act as a shield. And then you can also have sigils, which you can use pre-existing sigils that have been created by different witches over the centuries. Or you can use your own. You can draw them on your skin or on paper or even just visualize them with your mind. It's also very common to draw a sigil with oils or water to protect your home on the windows or on the doors. And I can do an episode about sigils if that is something that you guys are interested in. Water is a great protective tool. If you've been in the spiritual and witchy space for any amount of time, you've definitely heard about moon water. So this is water that you have charged under the moon's light, and different phases of the moon will imbue the water of different properties. You can use it to anoint yourself, to anoint your home or your tools for protection. Of course, holy water. This is used widely in different traditions. Sprinkling or spraying holy water around your space or on yourself can cleanse and protect you. If you live near the sea, you can collect and use seawater in rituals, and this can harness its natural protective properties. There is also things like chanting and protective mantras and affirmations. Bear with me on this because I had to do a bit of Google search to try to figure out how to pronounce. Basically, there are mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum, which is a mantra that is the essence of all Dharma or the purest Dharma, or Om Dam is a Sanskrit mantra that honors the powerful Hindu goddess Durga, believed to remove suffering and protect Hindus from harm. Both of these can help protect by invoking these energies, these protective energies. Any research and any sources where I found this information, I will add them at the show notes as usual. You can also use vocal toning, so you can use your voice to create protective vibrations, such as humming or chanting specific tones, and this can help fortify your energy field. And then finally, you can use affirmations and words of power, and they can also help with that spiritual protection. Some affirmations that you can use, for example, I am protected, connected, and whole, or my mind, body, and spirit are protected, or the power of the universe is all around me, protecting me. Think of your own, see what resonates. A way of protecting yourself, especially if you are involved in magical or spiritual work, is creating a sacred space. And I have a whole episode about creating a sacred space, which you can check out, and also a blog post on particularly setting up an altar. So I'll leave the links in the show notes so that you can have a look at those. It is very important as well to maintain a protective environment, so please regularly cleanse and bless your home using a combination of all the techniques that we've been talking about. I know that when you have chronic conditions or you have mental health conditions, cleaning your house is very difficult and sometimes it might feel impossible. This doesn't mean that you are doomed, okay? Because it's all about the energy that we put out. Does a clean and tidy home make protection easier? Yes. Does clutter and dirt more easily attract negative energy into your space? Yes. But that doesn't mean that because you have a dirty or cluttered home, you are, as I said, doomed to be attacked by a poltergeist or something like that. It's not like that. It just means that we have to make a bit more of an effort to cleanse and to invite the energies that we want. One thing that I always say is at least try to keep your altar tidy and clean. But I am a goblin in spirit. I love having decorations and things and tools and whatever on my altar. It makes it very difficult to keep it clean. And I believe that witches of old, they didn't have spotless huts in the forest. Just by the nature of having all of these herbs and bottles and tools, they will have way too many things to have every nook and corner completely clean. It is my belief that if you stress and worry about it, and you are constantly bringing that sort of negative attention to it, then you are creating that energy magnet a bit more for negative energy to surround that clutter. If you, however, are doing your best, just because your house is not perfectly clean and tidy all the time, rest assured, nothing is going to happen to you. Just keep the rest of the techniques and keep your house protected. And if doing some of these rituals is too hard, just use simple visualization or affirmations and mantras and just do your best. And on the days that you have a bit more energy, then you can just tackle an area of your home. So please don't worry about it, because I know that a lot of people feel very stressed about this. And I just want to emphasize that it's not going to be the end of the world. And I just mentioned visualization. So yes, you can actually protect yourself by using visualization techniques, such as, for example, a golden light meditation. You can visualize yourself surrounded by a golden protective light, and this will act as a protective shield, and it will repel negative energy, and it will keep you safe. You can also imagine a mirror all surrounding you, that anything that comes your way is going to be mirrored back. It's going to be bouncing off that mirror. And for example, there are some warding spells that you can use around your home, such as putting mirrors facing out, and that way any psychic attacks that come your way are going to be mirrored back. Talking about wards and protective spells, you can use jar spells. For example, you can create a protection jar, and you will fill this jar with items like black salt or protective herbs and crystals. You can place it in your home, you can carry it with you. It's very common to place tags, to place either nail clippings or some of your hair, because what this means is that the jar will act as a decoy, and any negative feelings and any negative energy sent your way, it will be directed to the jar instead. So have a think about that. And as always, my podcast can be the first step. So always do further research. You can also do protection spells by using candles. So you can carve some protective symbols like sigils onto the wax, and you can anoint it with protective oils or water, and then set your intentions as the candle burns. And finally, you can use energetic words around your home or around yourself, and you can reinforce this through rituals or creating physical representations, things like that. And again, I can also do an episode on words if that is something that you want. Boundary setting is such a great protection tool, and I think is underutilized. You can set clear energetic boundaries with others. So you can either visualize a barrier around you, and that will allow you to control the energy that comes and goes. And I really like this. So again, when I used to work at the gym and I knew I was going to have a difficult day, depending on the people that I had to deal with, or if I had a lot of appointments that I had to go through, not my clients, but sometimes you have to do appointments that the gym sets for you. I would visualize a protective barrier around me. Sometimes I would visualize a protective barrier that things will bounce off me. Sometimes I would feel like spikes are growing off me, so people would not bring their energy too close. When I walk through a very busy street, I like creating this barrier a bit prickly so that people keep their space, because it really stresses me out when people are very close to me. It's just one of those sensorial things. Ritual hand washing is so important. So not only hand washing to get rid of germs and bacteria, but if you are going to be interacting with others, or if you are engaging in spiritual work, you should wash your hands with intention to cleanse away any residual energy. I came across a great routine while researching for this episode for some spiritual protection that mimics a skincare routine. And basically, it contains 3 steps like cleansing, toning, and moisturizing. So I'm going to share the link in the show notes, and it will be marked with like the cleansing routine or something like that, so you know exactly which one. The best energy protection spell is saying no. No is a great complete sentence. I mentioned earlier anointing candles with oil or with water. There are thousands of protective oils and sprays. So you can use essential oils such as frankincense, rosemary. You can anoint your body with these. You can anoint candles or doorways. Now, be very mindful, because there's a lot of information out there on the internet which is dangerous. You should always dilute essential oils. You pretty much should never ingest them unless a doctor tells you to do whatever. That's a different story, and I don't know enough to talk about that side of it. But from what we're talking about, never ingest essential oils, never put them directly on your skin, always dilute them. And then be very careful, because some of them, even when you dilute them, can give you allergy reactions or skin reactions, and a lot of them, especially citrusy ones, will react with the sunlight and leave discoloration marks on your skin or potential burns. Always do your research and make sure that you know what you're using on your body. So obviously essential oils, you can use them as the liquid and just like put some drops and anoint whatever with it. Or you can also create sprays so that you can mist the space around you. Now be careful with this, because a lot of essential oils are going to stain. So especially if you're renting, you want to keep an eye on that. Of course, we also have meditation and prayer. So you can do protective meditations. You can meditate on feeling safe and secure and focus on strengthening your aura and grounding your energy. And if you pray to any kind of deity, then you can incorporate it into your daily routine and ask for guidance and protection from whichever higher powers or spirit guides that you work with. The last technique that I want to talk about and spend a bit of time with is grounding. Grounding is sometimes called earthing, and it is a process in which you connect to the Earth's electrical energy, and is rooted in the theory that the Earth's electrical charges can impact your body health, your mood in a positive way. The idea is that when you touch your body to the ground, it takes all the static electricity and any extra charges that are on you, and at the same time, you receive a charge of energy from the earth, helping you balance your energy and help you synchronize with the energy and the frequencies of the earth. There are mixed views on this. There are many studies that seem to disprove grounding as a science, but I believe that if something works for you, then it works. And if it helps you relax and meditate and balance yourself, then it works. And I guess this is one of those things that you have to take on faith rather than scientific process. I do a lot of grounding and it works for me because being in contact with nature is something that relaxes me and helps me ground myself. I do believe the Earth's energies interact with our own energies. There are some simple grounding techniques such as breath work. So you can use belly breathing and deep belly breathing, something that I really love because we tend to breathe very shallow on our chest and we should try to send all the oxygen down to our belly. So find the technique that works for you. You can do grounding meditation, for example, root chakra meditation, in which you work on your root chakra, which is at the base of your spine, and trying to connect this with the earth so that it is balanced, and this chakra is associated with grounding and security. You can also visualize yourself as a tree with roots growing into the earth. I actually have a grounding meditation based on growing these roots, which is available on YouTube, on my website, and on Insight Timer. And I will leave some links in the show notes for you to check it out. It's one of my favorite meditations, actually. Physical activity is such a great grounding technique. Yoga poses like mountain pose, warrior, or the tree pose are very good for grounding. Walking on natural surfaces, especially if you do it barefoot, surfaces like sand or grass or soil, is very grounding. It connects you directly to the earth's energy. Things like dancing or moving freely will also help you connect your feet and the ground, and it can help you release pent-up energy and anchor you to the present moment. As we've said before, you can use crystals to carry or to meditate with them, and any black crystals tend to be grounding. My favorite tool that I discovered this year is using a weighted blanket. This can provide you with a physical sense of security and it will ground you, especially if you're feeling anxious or ungrounded. If you have certain conditions that will cause you either stress, anxiety, panic attacks, or things like that, you will have heard countless of advice around engaging your senses, so things that you can see, that you can touch, that you can hear. And this is a great grounding technique. You can touch things and look at the different texture that it has and focus your attention on the sensations that it creates in your hand. You can listen for grounding sounds. Obviously, if you can use some drumming or chanting or nature sounds, that's okay. But also if you are somewhere and you need it, listening for sounds that hopefully won't stress you, then can also help. Or for example, things like taste. You can focus on eating something with a grounding flavor, dark chocolate, ginger, root vegetables like potato. And of course, just let me remind you that none of this is medical advice. This is all based on your spiritual journey. Connection with nature is so important for grounding. Things like gardening, for example, if you don't have access to woodlands or whatever, you can just garden. And again, like gardening is a privilege. Not all of us have a garden. Sometimes even having a potted plant can help because you can connect with that energy and look after the soil in that pot. If you have access to the outdoors, then hugging a tree is amazing. You don't even have to hug it. You can just place your hands on the bark, or you can lean against it, just sit next to the tree and just feel that connection to the earth through the roots of the tree. Now, if you're an animistic person, that is, if you believe that everything has its spirit and its soul, you probably yourself don't enjoy people just randomly hugging you. So it is good to ask permission of the tree. You can approach the tree calmly and just energetically present your intentions and wait. And I know it sounds a bit weird, but it does work. And sometimes you don't receive any answer, or sometimes you just feel calm. And that is great, because that could feel like a yes, you can hug me. And there are some trees that tend to be very open to this kind of thing, like oak trees, for example. But then there are other plants or other trees that you might present yourself in that way. And then you just get this feeling of, nope, no, I'm not doing this. And you have to respect those feelings that you get and just find another tree. If you enjoy that connection to the earth, you can sit or lie down on the ground. And again, it's just going to feel like the earth is supporting you. There's one thing that's become very popular, and it is forest bathing, which is called Shinrin-yoku, I believe. And if I pronounce that wrong, apologies. Please feel free to let me know in the comments, audio comments, how it should be pronounced properly. But it is a practice of relaxation that comes from Japan, and it's just being calm and quiet among the trees, observing nature around you when you're breathing deeply, and this can help get rid of stress and boost health and well-being. Okay, hold on, because I still have many more techniques and tools. I told you I was going to give you a lot of information. So that's why I decided to split this longer topic into two, because I knew that today was going to be a long one. Practicing rituals such as a morning grounding routine can be very helpful. You can start your day with listening to a short meditation or a few minutes of breath work, or just simply setting an intention to stay grounded for the day. You can do it in the evening. Before bed, you can spend a few minutes in a grounding activity. So you can be journaling, you can do grounding meditation, but the idea is to release the day's energies and prepare yourself for a restful sleep. It's very helpful, because when we are stressed because of the day, our energy is going to be like buzzing around. And so you want to let go of that excess energy and get yourself into that slow, calm, cool feeling. I mentioned earlier taste as a grounding technique. Mindful eating, essentially. Eating foods like nuts and seeds, root vegetables, so carrots, potatoes, beets. You can say things like, I am connected to the earth, I am fully present in my body, I am rooted, safe, and secure. All of these are going to help you feel much more grounded and therefore protected. And then a very interesting one is water therapy. Things like cold water immersion. This is going to be something that is going to get you out of whatever flighty, anxious state you might be. You can splash your face with cold water, or you can put your feet in cold water. If you are hardcore, then you can just take a cold water bath or something like that, but don't immerse your whole body into cold water therapy without having spoken to your doctor first, because it can be dangerous if you have certain health conditions. But the sudden temperature change can bring your awareness back to your body and into the present moment. And then earlier we spoke about Epsom salts. Taking a bath with Epsom salts is going to help not only detoxify, but also ground your energy, and it's going to help you feel that physical and energetic relief. I use Epsom salt so much for my muscles. Suffering from fibromyalgia, I am constantly painfully aware of my body. My body hurts pretty much all the time. So getting myself into a hot bath with Epsom salts and some essential oils in it, it just feels like absolute bliss, and my muscles relax and feel that grounding and calm energy. So as you can see, I gave you lots of techniques for spiritual protection and grounding. All of this practice can massively help with your spiritual resilience and your peace of mind. But of course, remember that the key is consistency and finding what resonates most with you. You can just have a look at a bunch of them and then decide, or maybe just hearing me talk about some of them made you click and think, yes, that's exactly what I need. That's exactly what I would like to try. And that's great. I hope these techniques help you protect your energy and maintain a strong spiritual foundation. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope that you try any of these techniques. If you do, please let me know. If you found this episode helpful, please help reach more people by sharing, liking, and reviewing. I would be very, very grateful if you could share the podcast as wide as you can. If you have any questions or any comments, if you know of any techniques that I haven't mentioned today, please reach out and let me know. I'm always happy to learn more and especially learn from people's experiences. Now, I talk a lot about chronic conditions and mental health, and I want to mention that I have a questionnaire for this in which I am trying to gather the experience of people that suffer from chronic conditions and mental health issues, and how they deal with their own spiritual journeys and how they keep a spiritual or meditation practice. All the answers in there are anonymous. So if that is you or is someone you know, share it please, because I want to create a library of resources and content that might help people with these conditions like me continue with a rich and balanced spiritual practice. That is all from me. Thank you so much for listening as we had a look at the various techniques for spiritual protection and grounding. And until next time, stay grounded, stay protected, and continue to unleash the magic.